Hogstye.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hogseye. We have good news. The alien invasion has been defeated. There are no more grays in the Hogseye. There's no ghosts, no flickering dark screens. Steve and I had to work, three times? Two times.
Three times. It was at least twice, but couple times last week too. I think it total was probably three.
Yeah. Three different calls to figure out how that Steve had the wrong camera selection somehow.
Well, we didn't. No, wait, that was part of it, but we didn't ever actually get it working on the app at all.
Right.
Which is not my fault. That is Microsoft's fault.
Right. Microsoft, you are the worst.
And
Bill
also,
Gates...
in my defense, the camera selection had the exact same wording
for both.
2 times. Yes,
right.
Exact same. Said integrated camera. So right. Thanks, Microsoft. We hate you, Microsoft.
Bill Gates, maybe a little less time trying to save the world and a little more time trying to fix your stupid software.
I would think for $4.50 a month, we ought to get more than this. That's what I'm saying.
And just think, I was prepared to have like a tinfoil hat episode today too, as well with it.
I know the fans can't see it because I refuse to be on camera, but it really looked a lot like an alien invasion. It really did, or like a horror movie or something.
Really low budget, bad horror movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was.
You go all the way back to the original War of the Worlds skip from back in the 60s.
Or 50s, the Orson Welles one?
Yes.
I think you're going earlier than that, honestly. I think it was like 40s.
Maybe 40s.
I might look that up while we have a quiet moment at some point. Steve is going to be in and out throughout the day because he's got a dog he is watching. And that is, one, it's a cute dog. So I'm not going to...
It's a very large, cute dog.
Right.
He's very loud and he loves to look out the window right next to where I am. And so everything he sees, he barks at because he's a hunting dog.
Yes. And the Orson Welles...
Just put a lot of peanut butter on the side of your desk. To keep him occupied for the next hour.
And then you have to take him out. Then you have to take him out for the worst reason.
This dog has ADHD. He's never going to ever focus on one thing for an hour.
Right. By the way, 1938. I double checked. Orson Welles.
Yeah, I was a little off on that.
It really was sort of what we were looking at last week with my camera feed.
Yes. Steve is being Orson Welles in War of the Worlds. I'm probably more like Orson Welles when he did that French wine commercial, just kept getting drunker and drunker trying to do a commercial.
Except I think I weigh like a third of Orson Welles when he died.
Oh, yeah. Well, I weigh a third of what he weighed.
Everybody weighs a third of what Orson Welles weighed.
Yeah.
And I'm like half his height.
I mean, you're 4'10". I mean, that's, he had at least a foot and a half on you.
There you go.
But if you've never seen that video, go sometime, find it online. Orson Welles French wine commercial, hilarious.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Hunt it down post show, or I'll even look it up and send it to you at some point.
It's that good,
huh? He's just getting drunker and drunker. It's great. But we're not here to talk about dead people getting drunk on camera.
I mean, that's an interesting. We've gone crazy places with this show before, and
that's not even
up there.
That's not even top 10, sadly.
We've had Alex as a drunk guy.
You've had me as a drunk guy probably in more than half the shows and didn't even notice.
Hopefully not half the shows.
Yeah, because we do record a lot during the middle of the work week.
We've done. Dave hasn't had the pleasure. We did Hogseye late night many days. I mean.
Well, we're going to get into the schedule, and I'm thinking we should bring it back because we have so many that we could do.
I listen, I'm not going in the garage to record a show again.
All right.
I mean, we have recorded. I recorded in the backyard one time, if I recall.
You did. You did.
I've done the garage. It's been an adventure.
Yeah. It's been a lot of that over the years. But yes, the schedule release happened today, as you guys know. If you follow Twitter at all.
I do not. Is that a problem?
Well, you don't. No, not really. I was just going to say, if you follow Twitter at all, everything kind of gets leaked right away. It's almost it's fun, but it's annoying at the same time. I don't know how else to put it.
Can I start a diatribe on the schedule? Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
I absolutely hate the way the NFL handles the schedule release. I think it's the absolute dumbest thing that they possibly do. They make a big production every year. It's on ESPN or NFL Network or somewhere. Oh my God, we have the schedule release, and it's like a 2-hour show.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not anything interesting. It's, okay, the Chiefs are playing the Seahawks. It just release the schedule for Christ's sake. You don't have to have a TV show for absolutely everything. I never watched it. I think there's very few things in the world of sports are a bigger waste of time than watching a 2-hour schedule release fanfare. I really hate it. So I might rant over.
I 100% agree with you on that one. In fact, if they even had a show today, I was watching the Blacklist over it anyway. It's just absolutely, it's just to fill in time. That's all it is.
Yes.
Between the draft and that's all it is.
Just release the schedule. Publish the schedule. That's it.
Here's my thing. I am interested when things get leaked, like the big games, and we're gonna go in order real quick. We're not breaking these things down, but when they announced that Washington's gonna be playing in Madrid, Spain early, I'm interested. Like that's a big deal that they're gonna be they're gonna be the selling point for that game. Let's be honest.
Right.
Jane Daniels is gonna be player number 1 on that billboard. It's not going to be Tua. It's not going to be Hill. It's going to be Jaden, right? Like that's
Tyreek Hill needs to be nobody's advertisement for anything.
For
the record.
Sure, but somebody's going to be it for Miami. I just don't know.
It's not going to be the wife abusing scumbag, though.
Probably not. But so they announced that 3 or 4 days ago or they started leaking that Washington was going to be on that game, and stuff starts. I'm okay with that stuff leaking, but I'm generally speaking, I'm with you. I don't care about the production of the day of schedule release. Just give it to me. I saw somebody post this, and it's hilarious because we all remember it. There was a time where you didn't know the schedule till you went to a gas station and got a free magnet with the schedule.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It's a long time ago, Alex. You're showing your age, but.
Well, you walk into a bank.
I'm showing your guy's age because I'm the young one. Yeah. It was tougher for you, Dave, because you had to drive all the way to D.C. to find a Sunoco and get the schedule and then drive all the way back.
I lived all over the country. It was definitely tougher for me. What are you talking about? At least he was in driving distance.
Well, actually, that was the one thing that the Daily Times did very, very well up here. They posted the schedule for all the NFC East teams on one page. Rip it out, boom, and that was it. That's all I ever needed.
Put it up on the fridge. We all did that, right? You put the schedule on the fridge, and if you were really a nerd, you would put little scores as the season went through.
I never did that.
I did that. I did that.
Yeah, definitely did that.
Yeah.
So let's go through it real quick. The big takeaway right off the bat is going to be there's a ton of primetime in here. Ton of featured games. Ton of prime time, and that is, not shocking, but it sucks for Dave, and I feel bad for Dave. So let's go through it. Week 1 at home, Washington hosts the New York Giants. 1:00 game on the 7th of September. Not a shock there. I think they want to kind of give Washington a little bit of an easy start, and that's probably why you're going to see the Giants that week.
I don't know if I agree with wanting to give an easy start, man. I mean, this is a big Jenga puzzle to put together. They want to have I think it's safe to say you'd want to have a divisional game maybe in week 1 to gin up some interest, but I don't think anybody's trying to give Washington an easy start.
Well,
but what makes you think this is an easy start, though?
Alex said that. That's why I
always
said
take about a few. Well, I get that. But it's just, NFL offenses usually take about a good 3-4 weeks into the season to really get going. And you're gonna have this defensive front. It's probably one of the better fronts in the NFC they're going to face all year. and and their secondary isn't that bad. This game's going to be a scary game in my opinion, but
Hmm.
we'll see. We'll
We
get
don't
more
know about
breakdown later.
yeah, right.
Yeah, we're gonna do real breakdowns as we go.
Yeah.
Get later into the, off season. All right, so week 2, Green Bay primetime game. I believe that's a Thursday night football game
Yeah.
on September 11th. That's Washington on the road. Week 3 on the 21st, Washington hosts the Raiders of not L.A., not Oakland, Las Vegas. I will never get used to them being in Vegas.
No.
That's also a 1:00 game. So far, good for Dave. 2 1:00 games at home.
Yep.
Dave's happy. Week 4, Atlanta Falcons at the end of September. That's a 1:00. Week 5, we get a not prime time, but that 4:25 slot versus the LA Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first game in October.
And that's in LA. That's why it's a late game. Just
it is, but
record.
the 4:30 is always that like game of the week game, generally speaking. So that's why I thought I'd point that out too. October 13th, Bears come to DC for Monday Night Football.
Dave not happy.
Well, actually, since they're on the road the next 2 weeks after that, I don't know. I could deal with that. I'm clearly not going to go to work on Tuesday, most likely. But
right, there's going to be a lot of Dave has to find a hotel days for the next night.
I think Dave can get home. Dave just can't get up at 6 a.m. to go to work, is what he's saying.
Well, actually, no, I did that after the Thursday night game against Chicago. I probably won't do that again, though, because that was rather exhausting.
And as we all know, you missed the play that last time.
No, I didn't.
I thought you said you went home.
No, not for Chicago. I went home on the Cowboy one, where they almost came back right there, but they missed the extra point. That's the one where I started coming. I actually left a little bit early.
I do remember you missed something. I couldn't remember what it was.
I thought you missed the Hail Mary.
No, it happened right in front of me.
Well, I thought you missed it. I
Yeah,
apologize.
I'll never forget that. No, it's all good.
I besmirched Dave's good name there. I apologize.
You didn't besmirch his name. You didn't do it on purpose.
By saying he left early, that's besmirching. All right, so then we got Dallas on the 19th. That's on the road. That's another 4:30 game, followed by primetime Kansas City Monday Night Football right before Halloween on 10/27. So another primetime. Not a single 1:00 game in October, which is wild. In fact, looking ahead, then Washington plays Sunday Night Football the next week. So they go Monday night, Sunday night back to back versus Seattle. That's in DC.
We hate 1:00 games on this show.
Well, I especially hate them, as you guys know, because in my heart, I'm the oldest person of all of us. I want a nap.
I just like being able to watch the game and be done, write what we need to write and be done with it. I don't like having to stay up and write, game summaries.
Right. All right, week 11.
And I'll probably already predict that this game right here, I'll probably end up selling those tickets right there, probably.
Seattle for Sunday Night Football.
Yeah.
Maybe send me a message. I don't know yet, but I will probably maybe want to buy a ticket or two. We'll see. Sunday Night Football is a little tough to do, but you know how it goes.
Actually, you haven't gotten to this yet, but there's not a single 1 p.m. game in October or November.
You're right.
Next one up to December.
Yeah, I need to double check. I do have a wedding sometime in that month.
Are you getting remarried?
No, my cousin. My cousin.
Okay.
First,
you're getting married to your cousin.
I'm not from West Virginia. Thank you very much. All right. Lions the next week on week 10 at 4:30. The international game that we talked about with the Dolphins at 9:30 in the morning. I love morning football. I do. I need to find a place to go watch it. Yeah, 8:30 for you. I'm gonna go have brunch. Steve, you're just eating straight breakfast for that game.
Yeah, it's just
Steve rolls out of bed, grabs his oatmeal. I don't know what Steve
If
actually
you
eats for
knew
breakfast.
how much I ate for breakfast, you'd be shocked.
I figure I figure you just have like dry toast and some cereal without milk
Oh
and
no, for my diet, I have to eat enormous amounts of breakfast
Oh,
every
it's
single
a
day.
big
oh
breakfast
really?
diet. Okay,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, that's my favorite meal of the day. I love breakfast.
breakfast has the best food. We all know that.
Yes, yeah.
But you guys know what I eat.
Right,
It's,
right.
nothing
At,
anybody else would want to eat.
at most, you might be having an egg. I
No,
imagine
I
in
eat
terms of
like
unhealthy
I
things.
get like 7 eggs a day, a lot of eggs.
Do you really? Wow. I would
The
thought that
eggs are
would.
not that unhealthy, actually. And
Okay.
I do egg whites.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So
All right.
so you pour a Rocky and put them in a all raw inside of a
You
cup
could
and
just
just
buy them. You
swallow them
just buy them.
whole.
No, well, I mean, I would, but no, I just buy them in a. You can buy them in a carton, just like a
Yeah.
milk
Yeah.
carton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've all purchased egg whites. I think at
It's
some
also
point.
logistically easier too.
It is. Pain in the butt to clean the frying pans, though. I will say.
How did we get on this topic?
I don't know. We talked
Let's defer.
because it's a morning game, and I said we're all gonna have breakfast, and All right, bye week 12 after they come back from España, which is Spain for those of you who are idiots. And all right, after the bye week 13, another primetime game, Sunday Night Football versus the Broncos. Another one at home for Dave, late night. So
Actually, I'm actually gonna look forward to that one because I like Bo Nix. I
Bo
like
Nix is
Denver and
fun.
their setup
Yeah.
there.
yeah, yeah.
And I like that Denver team a lot out there.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean,
Yeah.
my question for you, Dave, is exactly how many of these night games are you going to go to? Are you planning on trying to make as many as possible, or what?
well, I'm gonna initially plan to make all of them, but I know I'm not going to. That's why if anything, that Seattle one will probably be the odd one out probably.
You want to get in as many games you can before the PSLs kick in.
You ain't kidding about that.
Yeah, and we'll talk. We have another topic that's related to that we'll get to. All
Tease.
right.
You
Yep.
tease.
Week 14 Vikings. Hey, guess what? An actual 1:00 game.
Thank God.
That
Yeah.
is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8 games in a row with not a 1:00 start. That's wild for Washington.
That's never happened in the history of this show.
Not
I can
in
tell
the
you.
history of the podcast. No,
No,
I don't
that's
even know
what
if that
I'm
happened in the history of the team because
Oh, I
back when
don't
they
know.
were
I mean,
good.
we'd have to go look. We'd have to go. I
Yeah.
mean, I would not willing to say that, but I know in the 10 years we've done this, we've never had this
Right.
this issue.
I'm just saying, like there weren't that many primetime games back when they were good. So
Well, there was no Sunday night
No.
football. There was,
Yeah.
Thursday. Yeah.
right. All right. So next week on the December 14th, Giants at 1. And then the last couple we don't really have times except for one game. So 12:20 they play the Eagles at home. 12:25, which is some holiday. I don't know what it is. It's some holiday. That they're playing at 1:00 on Christmas, and then
I hate that. Thanks.
yes. Well, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Last game against the Eagles on either the 3rd or the 4th. They don't really know. So Eagles, Cowboys, Eagles to finish off the last 3 games.
The reason why Alex is saying it's TBD is that the NFL, being the guy who monitors, puts these schedules up and everything, every year they leave those as to be determined because they're going to cycle the important games onto primetime slots and stuff.
Right.
And so they don't even bother to try. And they used to. They don't even bother to try anymore. They just put TBD for the last week.
Those are the flex weeks that
Yes.
they always do. Yes. So let's talk about it, guys. My stance about Thanksgiving games has always been I hate that there's football on Thanksgiving. It should be about your family. Even though I am half Jewish, half atheist, I feel the same way about a Christmas game.
I really hate the Christmas games.
Yeah.
I'm not happy about those.
No, I think it's ridiculous.
Right. I think we're all actually very traditional in that holidays should be about your family. And,
Right.
That doesn't include football.
Right. That doesn't include football. Unless you really hate your family and you want to do football.
There's some
that.
people that do. And also, this is a Thursday. Yeah, it's not. I still don't like Thursday games, and I don't think it's a good football day. The teams aren't recovered in time to
No,
play
that's
them.
true too.
Just leave it to basketball.
Yeah, yeah, it is a basketball thing more than a football thing traditionally, and I know the
I
NFL
mean,
doesn't care, obviously.
Oh no, of course not.
no. I mean, at least Washington has one benefit. They play that Saturday prior to that Thursday. At least they get that little extra day or break in that. Anyways,
It gives them one extra day of recovery. It's
yeah,
still
that's
not
about it.
enough, but
No,
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
not.
yeah. But I mean, overall, the schedule. Uh, I mean, I don't read too much into schedules. Like, I don't go, oh, it's gonna be hard here, especially not this early. But
Well, I mean, we do struggle sessions for days over these, just not on
Mhm.
day one.
Right,
Right.
right. We'll dig into it deeper as the off season continues. Any other reactions other than, again, Dave? I'm sorry, this is gonna be brutal on you.
Hey, listen. You know what? I'm I'm okay because the team is good,
Yeah.
and and the national media and just the country itself realize that they're relevant again. That part I'm happy about. We got a franchise quarterback. I'm happy about that. I just don't share the same hype as everybody or as every other Washington fan, you know,
I
Yeah.
has right
mean,
now with this
I-
team.
I'll
But
I'll tell you, my instant reaction was, I think weeks 7 through 11, and then the end 16, 17, 18 make the season because you've got 7 through 11,
Hmm.
Dallas, Kansas City, Seattle, Detroit, and then an overseas game against Miami, who's not terrible.
right.
And then Philadelphia, Dallas, Philadelphia always makes it. So that is the key. I think just my instant off the cuff reaction, that's the key to the schedule in the season, those two periods.
Well, generally, I think this is a much harder schedule than what they've faced last
Well,
year for
sure.
sure.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
I mean, they were it's
absolutely.
a fourth place schedule. Now it's a second place schedule.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But even so, I think just because you're facing the AFC West, there's only one cupcake in that division, in the Raiders, who are just a mess. And
I mean, Las Vegas, that was that team.
I just call them the Raiders because I don't recognize. There's no pirates in the desert.
It's like I don't recognize the Washington's name, and you don't recognize the Raiders' hometown. That's fair
I
enough.
don't I don't recognize the whole city of Las Vegas.
You
I
just
Oh,
want to wipe it out, huh?
Yep,
well, hold on.
I wouldn't be the first.
They have a treasure island on the strip, and they have a pirate ship in front of it. How is that not? I mean, you got something close to it anyway.
Sure. The only body of water around is
Is Lake
rapidly
Mead.
depleting.
Right. It's all good.
There,
Uh,
it's a bet in my head. What's going to happen first? Will the Raiders leave that city, or will the city just run out of water? I
It's no
don't know.
different than like the Los Angeles Lakers.
Oh, I
What's a
know.
lake? What is a Laker?
I know.
It's about the
I
same. The Las Vegas Raiders, LA Lakers, it's about the same problem.
It is. I like to make fun of both of them. So
And when
I
if you
do.
want to go to another one, the LA Dodgers is another dumb name because that
Right.
came from Brooklyn when people are dodging the train, which
Right.
is not irrelevant in LA. And there's a
Right.
lot of names like that.
well,
No,
hold
I
on. Wait a
know.
second. So they're not dodging bullets in L.A.
Well, they are, but the
Right.
name
Oh,
came before
From
Dodgers.
it meant people who jumped it off of and on trolley cars without
yeah.
paying.
Well, and if
Yeah.
you want to keep going down there, so there's no Bears in Chicago. The Vikings are not from Minnesota. I mean, we could do
Right.
this all day long.
Absolutely. I
But
know.
we
I
do.
know.
But we do have Commanders in Washington, but no Redskins.
Right.
That never
What
made
they
sense,
did is
man.
they named the team after a mid-grade naval officer rank.
Yeah, I
Right.
know.
So we have
I
lots
know.
of them. We have plenty of them. That's
Yes.
true.
We have far too
Uh,
many of them
Right.
in D.C. That is.
Yes. Lots of mid-grade officers. Just I see them on Metro all day, every day. They're there.
Might as well name a team after him.
Yep. Uh, anyway, this is not about team names. Let's focus in on one of the other topics, and I've suddenly lost my thing that had all my topics on it. What was my next topic? Shoot. Oh, that's right. The DC is the hot team. Dave, you were kind of bringing this up, it definitely does seem from the schedule that, obviously the league is like, this is the hot team, put them on prime time. And it's all Jaden Daniels. We accept that.
Yeah.
Like, if you had this exact same roster and, name any other quarterback, I don't think they're in half these games. Like, even if you had a decent quarterback, even if you had Tua on this roster,
Listen, I
they're not
understand the
playing out,
hype, okay? I mean, the nature of the very nature of the term fan
right.
suggests that it's an irrational love of a
Right.
team. And so I mean, yes, the fans have a right to be excited. The
Sure.
guy is the first quarterback that looks like he's going to go down the road of franchise quarterback they've had in more than a generation.
Right.
I understand all that. I mean, we on this show have always taken the realism perspective, and in this regard, I agree with what Dave's position is, which is the roster ain't all that, okay? It's not.
Right.
I mean, if you look, I wrote a column this week about trying to evaluate Dan Quinn, and one of the things I did is like listed the rankings of various functions of the team. And if you look at the defense, they were a flat out bad rushing defense. Terrible.
Right.
One of the worst in the NFL. They got a little, the truth is, they got a little lucky to get where they got. Good for them. But I don't think reality is, especially with a harder schedule, reality is, it may not be what people think. Good, yes. Another season of great, and so I think that's what you're talking about, Dave. It seems to me there's been a lot of like fanaticism, which again is the very nature of fandom, but I don't know if it's justified yet.
Right.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with all that, because especially on the defensive side, they did some, they beefed up the run defense, I think, a little bit better this offseason, but they still had minimal to no real true edge rusher. We have no idea what that secondary is going to be like with that rookie out there, although, see, everything right now is more or less long-term, building over a period of time.
Yeah.
Last year, we called lightning in a bottle. Teams didn't know what to expect from Jaden Daniels. Then when they saw what Jaden Daniels could do, they tried to adjust to Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels was good enough to readjust his game to what defenses adjusted to him. And I think the league realizes that Jaden Daniels is potentially the real deal, of course. And that's fine. That's great. I'm excited about that. But you still have to expect you're going to have a little bit of regression on Jaden Daniels, because now they have a full offseason to prepare for him. It's not saying Jaden Daniels is not the guy, not saying he's not a good quarterback. It's just a natural progression to a rookie going into his second year. I'm not saying you're going to have a CJ Stroud type of year where you really take a major step back, but there's going to be a step back he's going to take. And you look at the running game, I don't think the running game is really there to help support any kind of an early setback on this offense. But the offensive line, I think they did a great job on really bolstering that to help protect any of that setback and protect Jaden Daniels going forward. I don't know, just so many questions around everything. It's just, I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, he was, whatever was special about the running game was because of Jaden Daniels.
Yes.
It wasn't the running backs are average at best.
Yeah.
All of them.
I mean, if you remember when the season was over, I did some quick math, and there were, I think, half the games in the season where Jaden Daniels outran all the running backs together.
Yeah.
That's not good. You don't want that long term.
All we're saying is, be excited about your team, wonderful, but a dose of reality says we don't think you should get your hopes up too much and expect,
right,
a Super Bowl run or whatever necessarily, because there's holes on this team that they didn't fill because you can't fill them all. And they're going to have a harder schedule, and there's going to be a year of film on Jaden Daniels. And the truth is, there were games against better teams that he did not look great in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the God's honest truth.
True.
Fair. So,
yeah.
Temper the hype train. That's all we're saying.
Yep.
Right.
Everyone stay a little more medium. Jim Zorn told us, and he was right.
That's
all right.
The one thing Jim Zorn was right about.
Yes, staying medium. Also do that with your steaks. If you go more than medium, you're wrong.
Everybody should eat rare. Just
yes,
I advocate for rare.
I advocate rare too. As I've gotten older, it sometimes upsets my stomach, but I still tend to go that way because it tastes better.
Well, there's a sweet spot because it's got to be rare but warm inside. Rare
Right.
and cold is not
Yeah.
good. Is good.
Not raw.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So the next thing we want to bring up, because it came out right after we did the show last week, the Washington Post did a poll of Washington, D.C. residents about the stadium, because one of the arguments against the stadium has been, well, people don't actually want to pay for it. You know, fans will say they want it here, but they won't actually want to spend the money. So the Washington Post did this exact poll asking the question of, are you as a DC resident basically in favor of using $850 million for a stadium? Poll came out overall, DC residents 55% in favor, 39% opposed, which is pretty darn good. Where it got interesting to me, obviously, Washington fans more in favor than non-Washington fans, significantly so. Non-sports fans hate the idea of a stadium, which I guess we shouldn't be shocked by that at all. Why are they even being asked? Non-sports fans. I mean,
Well,
I know
because
why.
they're DC residents. That's why.
I know. But what I found interesting was they polled people by ward. And for some reason, they broke this down and said wards 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, which is a bit odd. But all but one ward, a majority is in favor. And the only duo was wards 3 and 4. Now, if you don't know DC and how it's laid out, wards 3 and 4 are upper northwest, like north of Georgetown. This is where all the people, I call it new white people area. This is where the first when you first move to DC, if you're a rich white person, that's where you go. You don't come down closer to the city yet because you're not ready. So those are the people who it was 46% in favor, 49% opposed. That's the only area that they found a majority opposition. My neighborhood, the area I'm in, was the biggest supporter, Ward 7 and 8, 63% support to 34. Which, now, again, talking DC politics, Ward 7 and 8, these are the east of the river areas. These are your African-American communities. These are your multi-generational Washingtonians. That's where the locals live. Not the Gen 1s, not the tourists who are only going to be here for 4 years maybe, but your lifers all live in 7 and 8. So, that's where you have the strongest support. So that's not necessarily surprising, but I was interested that they broke it down like that.
I mean, for me, the key is team fans, sports fans, not sports fans. I mean, and you could chalk me up in the rare, if you call me a fan. I mean, my fandom has been in question, to be honest, and I've been honest about that on this show. But I would be opposed to it in any circumstance, simply because DC is putting some money in, and I don't like that. And it's by the way, if anybody, I did take quite a bit of time to write a decent summary of the term sheet that we talked about last week. So go to the website. I wrote
You
that.
broke it down really well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean this is my jam, people. This is what I do for a living, is big real estate projects. But it's tax exempt, so the district loses the money. They're not getting any income at all from the stadium.
Right.
They're putting in $500 million. I don't like that, and I wouldn't be in favor of that in any circumstance, even if I was a diehard fan, which I'm questioning because of the name.
Right.
So that's my thought.
Right. And look, I understand not loving putting any money into projects like this, from a principle of rich people should pay for their own things because they're rich, and that's the whole.
It's a decent general proposition.
Yeah. Yes. But, I also do know in life, the richer you are, the more free handouts you get. That's kind of how our society is, and that's why we're all messed up. But we don't need to encourage it. So I get where you're coming from. I just think it's interesting. The biggest anti-stadium people politically in DC, like Charles Allen, who I believe is Ward 6.
Is that a district ward council member or something?
Yeah, city council member from that ward. His biggest argument was, well, if we ask people if they're willing to pay for it, they're going to say no. They're not saying no.
Right.
So I think that it has some weight in that regard. Now, look, Charles Allen's entitled his opinion, and I think, look, the city council should do everything they can to minimize the costs for the city, but you do also have to take into account what your people want. So I think you do need to try and make it work. If you're seeing polls now saying the public's in favor of this, figure it out at that point. We do live in a democratic republic after all.
I got news for you. Nobody cares if the public's in favor of it or not. They
Oh,
don't.
I know.
It's just talk.
Right.
And that's the one, and that's the one thing that kills me in this whole process is public opinion. They really don't care. Public's going to pay for it. They don't really care. And the season ticket holders are going to pay for it, and they don't really care. It's just the fact that you get this big old multi-billion-dollar stadium out there. It benefits the pockets of the right people, while all the other people who can't afford to pay for it, they shot the money to pay for it. That's just the way. That's the way of the sporting life.
It is. At some point, that house of cards is going to collapse in sports, but I don't think it's going to be anytime soon.
Right.
Yeah. So, speaking of the sporting life, let's talk about the stupidest thing somebody has said on television in quite a while. Now, for those who don't follow other sports, and you probably do, but the NBA draft just happened. If you don't know this, I think NBA, MLB, and NHL now are all lottery system drafts. And what that means is if you're worst, you don't get the first pick. You get a percentage chance at the first pick, and they all have different ways of calculating this. They used to just do the old big bingo hopper and just pick ping pong balls out, but now it's done with some weird computer calculating everything. There was a lot of controversy with the NBA's this year because they don't show you when they say, all right, here's who won the first pick. They just come out and announce it. And they somehow gave it to Dallas, who had a less than 1% chance at getting the first pick. And after Dallas lost, probably the biggest name in basketball. So
right.
There's a lot of shadiness with lotteries. Mike Greenberg comes out and says the NFL should do a lottery. Lotteries are great. Yay. And let's be honest, it is probably been one of the most poorly received takes I've seen on social media in a long, long time. Nobody wants the NFL to go to a lottery. It's a terrible idea for the NFL, I think.
I'm going to surprise y'all. I don't think it's a terrible idea. I mean, I don't know if I would do it, but I don't think it's a horrible idea. I think there's some pluses to it. I'm not totally wild about the completely structured, first to last or last to first, way they have. I do think a lottery will discourage people from tanking. Now, I don't think NFL teams tank in the same manner that basketball teams do. Basketball teams really openly tank, and NFL teams tend to not do that as much. They do kind of on a macro level. They'll take a reset year. I think that a lottery might limit some of that. Now, there's downside. The downsides to the lottery is, one, some of those bad teams might stay bad.
Right.
If they can't get the top players, are you really getting parity? That's a downside. But I mean, I may be in the minority and being a contrarian, which is the way I spend my life here. But I actually don't think it's. Again, I don't know. I'd have to think about it. I don't know if I would really do it, but I don't think it's as dumb as other people do.
The only thing, the issue I have with it, I mean, it's not necessarily the, preventing the tanking side. I get that, and, kind of, just giving a random team that you don't expect while they get a chance for a top quarterback in the draft or whatever. I mean, all that adds intrigue. All that's interesting. I get all that. But my problem is, and it's been the problem with the NBA for so long, is is how these numbers are selected. I know now they went from the ping pong to now more of a computer-based system now,
And
but
it's totally like hidden how they don't
right,
show you the selection now.
Well, that's the part that
exactly,
isn't
and
good.
that's that's a big problem with me because now, like in the Dallas Mavericks situation, a lot of fans are going, well, they gave up the best player in the NBA to, oh, gee, the Lakers for LeBron, so LeBron can make that move and all those conspiracy theories behind it.
Right.
So it's like almost like the NBA wanted to engineer that move, and they said, well, don't worry, Dallas, we'll make
Mhm.
sure you get the #1 overall pick. That's some of the conspiracy theories out there with it. I'm not saying the NBA draft lottery is rigged, but
I
it's the impression the NBA gives because of the secrecy in the numbers drawn, what you saw with the whole Dallas and Lakers situation this
mhm.
year, that builds these conspiracy theories, and there's no way of being able to disprove that. If they did a draft lottery for the NFL, to me, it would have to be one of those things where you get like fan represent like random fans from every single team. They're all coming together in a room and they draw these numbers one way or another with representation with not just fans but team execs or
It's got to be
whatever.
open. Yeah.
Oh, it's got to
Well,
be
that's what the
massively open
NBA
and
used
live
to
on
do.
TV.
Right.
The
Right.
NBA used to do exactly that, and they had literal ping pong balls, and they
Right.
would have the team rep sitting in the room, and that is what they did. And yeah, listen, I mean, sometimes 1.8% chances hit, but it does look very sketchy.
Right.
At the time in which Dallas traded away
Yep.
possibly the best player in the league in a trade that most people thought was sketchy in the first place. I mean,
Yep.
yeah, the whole thing, even if it's an accident, it looks strange. I get it,
Right.
but I think that what Greenberg was onto was the NFL's always looking for shows. We just went on and on about how
Mhm.
we hate the schedule presentation. This would be another show they could put on,
Right.
the
I
lottery show. And that would get ratings.
I it might. I feel like the NBA. I don't know what the NBA did ratings wise for the lottery show. That it's just them reading it off because again they don't show them picking the numbers, which is idiotic. Um, but my bigger thing is one. Obviously, I do think the NBA has been rigging it for years. Not every year, but there. Oh look, Cleveland got the #1 pick. LeBron gets to say. Oh look, LeBron wants to go back to Cleveland. They'll get the #1 pick to help him go back. They've
Right.
been doing it especially to help LeBron James for years.
Yeah.
It's kind of blatant. um, uh, so I've always kind of thought that the NBA is a little funky there. But my issue with doing it in the NFL, one, very rarely is a team other than a quarterback is a team one player away from all of a sudden being great. A quarterback is
Yeah.
obviously a difference maker. So when those drafts come along that there are great quarterbacks, yeah, it's a different thing. I don't buy that lotteries stop tanking. There's more tanking that goes on in every other sport that has a lottery than there is in the NFL. There are instances of tanking. I mean, we had that. Who was the coach that accused the Dolphins of trying to bribe him to basically tank?
Well,
I
that was a
can't.
couple of years ago. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was yeah, that was
I don't remember who it
oh,
was, but there was that. There was the couple years where Cleveland clearly purposefully went over to tank. We saw that, but
Brian
it's
Flores.
Brian Flores. Yeah,
Brian
it's
Flores,
very
yeah.
rare that teams will purposefully tank. I think in the NFL, I think it's much rarer in the NFL than in the NBA, than in baseball, than in hockey. Like in those
I
sports,
said that from the beginning. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, the NBA does that on a regular basis.
right,
Baseball, you can put people mysteriously on 60-day
right.
injury lists and stuff. And yeah, the NFL does not have a history of that. And I
Right.
agree that it's they do it to some extent, but it's more minimal.
I think
Yeah.
actually that lotteries make the tanking problem worse because it just means bad teams tank more often. Instead of tanking 1 year to get a good player, they're all tanking 5 years, 10 years sometimes to finally get a shot at that superstar. Because also, let's be honest, the NBA talent pool is just awful these days, so that doesn't help them.
Right.
When it comes to guys coming out, I don't think the NBA's talent pool has been good for a long
Well,
time.
I mean, actually, I mean, they have more international players.
Yeah.
I mean, the talent pool is bigger. It's like any other sport. Kobe Bryant does not come along very often.
No.
In any sport.
Fair. I mean, but I think the NBA just in general. I don't think tanking is dissuaded at all by the lottery. I think that was a big failure on their part. Anyway, I'm not shocked Steve took the contrarian view, but I'm shocked Steve would take the non-traditional view.
Well, I mean, look, yes, I get a lot of people who poo-pooed, Greenberg's video, but what we've had done here today in the past 10 minutes is have this actual conversation about it.
Right.
I'm not even saying I agree with him. I'm just saying it's not as crazy as people think, and it was. And Greenberg, okay, I sometimes think he's not that serious in terms of his analytical ability, but I think he raised some points that were at least worthy of discussion.
Are any of the bobbleheads, as I like to call them, and none of them are that serious.
I'm 100% confident we could do that on ESPN and say the same things. This is the whole reason why we started the show.
Right. If you and especially if you were like, here's money and you just have unlimited time to watch sports other than doing this. Like,
now, the three of us are ugly and we wouldn't present well on TV, but in terms of what we say, that's the problem.
Some of those people are pretty ugly on there. At least some of the dudes.
Skip Bayless being one today.
Yeah. By the way, and I didn't have this on sheet. So ESPN is supposedly going to offer I think it's $29.99 streaming package a month, which is insanely high.
No thanks.
Yeah, but if they offered me one that was that, and I could add for another $5, they delete Skip Bayless from anything I watch.
Now pay a fee to get rid of Skip Bayless.
Yes, a $5 a month fee, and you never have to listen to Skip Bayless. They'll literally just black out anytime he's on TV.
Yeah, I'd probably pay $30 a month just for that. Are you kidding me?
Just offer the anti-Skip Bayless package.
Right.
That's it, man.
Yeah. And we'll do for all of them. Stephen A., Skip Bayless. We could do Greenberg.
And I won't even ask what all the additional perks are. You had me at Skip Bayless. That's it. I'm good. Here's my money.
Nothing else. Just no Skip.
Right. Yeah. If somebody offered me that as a package that I could mute certain sports commentators.
Nick Wright's starting to approach that little zone of Skip Bayless zone here too.
With his weird greasy hair, yeah. Hey, Nick, you're on TV, buddy.
But at least he's solid in other sports. He's just horrendous at football.
Sure.
So
Skip Bayless, he's just
horrendous.
Way.
Period.
Yeah. Stephen A. is horrendous at football, and they stick him on there anyway.
Stephen A. is horrendous at every sport that's not basketball. I mean, we don't talk about
boxing. He's pretty good at boxing too, I think.
Okay.
He's all right there.
We don't talk about other stuff on the show, but there was a thing that made the rounds here in DC that you guys probably didn't see. When Ovechkin broke the NHL goal record, Stephen A. within a minute and a half turned it back to being about LeBron and how great LeBron was, when he's supposed to be talking about how.
He did.
Yeah. Somebody breaks a record that everyone said would never be broken, and that's what happened. All right, so we should wrap up. We do have to talk about guards and interior linemen in general, right? It's guards and centers, right? We're not just doing centers separately.
Yeah, it's the interior lineman. I gotta pull all that up here now.
Yeah. Sorry. Why don't we make fun of Steve? Steve keeps running away because he's playing with the dog. We can tell.
Oh, I'm trying to keep the dog silent, and I'm throwing his toy around to keep him silent.
Right. What you don't know is the dog is plotting to take your spot on the show.
Maybe. He might do well. I think he took a break now. He left the room, so I think he's.
Yeah. Okay. It is a very cute dog. That it's your kid's dog that you're watching.
Yeah, it's a long story. I'm not going to get into it.
Right.
All right.
So we're ready to talk about guards.
So how fast you want to go through this? Just
don't bore people.
We have
don't
10
bore
minutes.
People.
So okay, can you do it in 9 minutes and 58 seconds?
I could do it in 9 seconds if you like.
Well,
that's what he sent his wife.
People too.
Right. All right, so the projected week 1 starters that I have is left guard Nick Allegretti, center Tyler Biadasz, and at the moment, right guard Andrew Wiley, with obviously Sam Cosmi being the starter.
Mm-hmm.
Now the one thing interesting in this starter package, because in this article I don't include Brandon Coleman because he's currently listed as a tackle. But as we talked about last week, I think Brandon Coleman kind of throws a little bit of a monkey wrench in this, so to say. I guess is if they want him to be their franchise guard going forward, and knowing where Sam Cosmi, he's going to be their right guard going forward, especially if they got done paying him. I ultimately will see the left guard spot potentially by week 1 being there for Brandon Coleman to win, and Nick Algretti and Andrew Wiley
Fighting out
competing
for the
for
right
that right
spot.
guard for that right
Mm-hmm.
spot until Sam Cosmi comes back. But overall, when you look at it, I think in terms when Cosmi comes back, I think what we have in depth at guard, if Coleman moves in there, when starters in guard, I think we're sitting in a position on interior offensive lineman as well as we have in a very, very long time. It just in terms of depth alone. Um, so you guys' thoughts on that?
Well, my thought is, I don't know if it's necessarily certain that Sam Cosmi's coming back in the same fashion that he did.
No, this
He
year
had
most
very
likely no.
I'm not even talking about this year. This year, the answer is no. But on a long-term basis, is he going to be healthy? Hope
Mm-hmm.
so. Certainly for him and the team. But I don't know. I mean, he has a very serious injury.
Yeah.
Right.
Doesn't
Yeah.
he have more than one torn ligament? I mean,
I,
am I right in thinking that?
I
I
believe
mean,
so. He's going to be out for a good chunk of the season, I
I'd be
think.
surprised if he doesn't miss the whole year. Honestly. And so I don't know how much you can count on him. Hopefully, he comes back. So that's my concern here is that. But I do think, in spite of the fact that technically Brandon Coleman is a tackle, um, he's going to start at guard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either him or Wiley is one of them is going to be the starting guard. One of them is going to be the swing tackle. It's as simple as that. Pick your one. And the other thing about Cosme is he's very expensive. Sam Cosme has a $74 million contract.
Right.
Right.
He's got the biggest cap hit of anybody in the interior line. 10.5 million, and it goes up to 20 million next year. So
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't surprise me if he's not better than before that they move on from him. That's
I think
my
that would
thought.
be a little shocking to some people, but
$20
I
million
mean,
cap hit for a guy they don't know if what he's gonna be like.
I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying I think it would shock some people if that happened because he was playing on a very high level before.
And this is not a prediction;
Well,
it's a concern.
Yeah, yeah,
well, I think when you look at the guard spot, the guard, you're not dealing with the edge rushers like you do with the tackle spots. You're not. I mean, granted, yeah, guards do pull and everything, but in
yeah.
terms of athleticism and with your lateral movement and a quick step to contain the outside, that's where I'd probably have the most concern for that kind of an injury if he was the right tackle. But
Right.
at guard, I don't think the concern is as high. I think there should be concern, obviously, but just by the position itself, I don't think the concern is as high as would be if he was our starting right tackle. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Fair. I agree.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It is interesting. They even with Cosme being hurt, it's almost like they have embarrassment of riches in some ways on the line. They like you've added 2 starters to what you had for the most part. You didn't really lose anybody other than to injury.
Right.
So now like this whole shuffling gets very tricky here. And I feel like Biotish is the only guy from last year's group that you really can pencil in and say this is your center. Like no one else is going to compete for that job.
Right.
Realistically, it's his spot. Anybody else I could see moving to a different spot.
Larry Tunsil is not moving to another spot.
Well, I know I said of last year's guys.
Oh, last year's guy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you could if you told me Wiley's in here, great. If you told me Wiley's now competing for the backups, okay, I believe that. Same with all of them. Same with Algretti. Same with Cosme or not Cosme, Coleman.
Right.
Yeah. Like they
I
have
mean,
a
Cosme's
glut.
moving to another spot too. He's moving to a hospital.
Right. Well, he's out of the hospital now.
Well,
He's
rehab
he's on
center.
the sidelines. He's on the sidelines. He's clapping. He's clapping real hard, patting guys on the back. That's his job.
So, all right. So then we go into our depth. The guy we signed from Pittsburgh, Nate Herbig, 30 years old, 34 pounds. Now, when I looked at him, Pittsburgh last year, all off season, had him penciled in as their center going into going into week one. So clearly he's had some time at center. He's been groomed per se to be a center in his league. So he
Right.
has versatility for both center and guard. So I would look at him as being probably, even though we have Michael Dieter, he was the primary backup last year. He wasn't as effective, wasn't as good at the center spot as we saw late in the year when he took over those 2 games. I think Herbig will step into being that primary backup center and potentially number 2 backup guard, I guess you would say, unless he really steps in to be a and blows his team away.
So both these two guys you're talking about, Dieter and Herbig, both have very similar contracts, 1.3 million each. Herbig has a tiny bit more guaranteed money, but still under $1 million. And so if one of them becomes the primary, I wouldn't say it's a bit out of nowhere, but those are guys that really would have earned their spot.
Right.
Those kind of contracts get cut in an instant.
Yeah.
So that would be a very good signing if they found someone who's filling a primary role for a veteran for 1.3 million.
Yep.
Right. So, and then I think the one interesting name on this list is Chris Paul. I think this is his make it or break it year. He's been in the league for 3 years, has only 8 total career starts at guard. But we've heard every year he's always had this upside. He's always had the athleticism, a lot of raw power, very good base and framework, and so this year he could be a surprise name. Maybe not necessarily as a running for a starting spot, but he could be the guy where they could sit there and go, well, we could let either Dieter or Herbert go because of the progression that he made. So they can make one of those decisions a lot easier if he takes that step forward this year.
Well, Chris Paul is in the last year of his contract, so what you're saying makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's a make it or break it year for him. They're either going to sign him, they're going to let him go. Sorry about the dog barking in the background there. It's definitely make or break it. And so somebody like Nate Herbig or whoever, Michael Dieter, pick your person, overcomes him, he's going to be gone. They're not going to sign him.
Well, I
Right.
mean, they're gonna keep at least 5, right? Interior linemen in general, right? So,
I didn't mean this year. I'm talking next year.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
they'll let him go and not re-sign him, is what I'm saying.
in all likelihood, just the nature of what he is as a backup, he's done with his rookie contract. You move on from him no matter what. Like that's how that 6th lineman, like that's what happens.
I mean, there's no reason to spend big money on
right,
lineman number 6.
right. 6 or 7 or 8 in general, like they're all vet
Right.
minimum guys or rookies. So. And I like Chris Paul. I think the times we have seen him, he has played, adequately for being a backup. Like he doesn't lose you games. Like years ago, Washington had some backup tackle they threw in a game. He let up 3 sacks in a row.
I remember that. I remember who
Yeah.
it was. I mean, and your point is valid in that I think Chris Paul, when he's been in there, has looked like an NFL player.
Right.
Has he been great? No. But has he embarrassed himself?
No.
He's been decent.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You just if he wants to stay and he's willing to take a vet minimum, maybe he'll do that if he plays well this year. So
Right.
I like Chris Paul overall, though.
Yeah.
So now you come down to the final 2 names. One is Julian Good-Jones. Second year, he's only had 2 snaps his entire career. He signed as a futures contract in Philadelphia in 2023. Signed on with us this past year. So I mean, he's a decent player. He's got good technique, solid technique, but he overcommits at times. He doesn't maintain his his base very well in terms of his footwork and his hand technique and everything. So he's got a long way to go to make this team, and it's got some upside. But I mean, I could see him a practice squad guy going forward. And then you have Timothy McGay, who is 23 years old, rookie, undrafted free agent, 6'3", 221 pounds. This guy right here, he's got a lot of raw athletic ability, good size, great footwork, hand technique, and everything. But he's just very, very raw. He's a true developmental player on this roster. A guy that they look for maybe 2-3 years down the road, and he's back and forth off the Texas or the practice squad here and there.
Yeah, I mean that's reasonable. There's going to be a couple of these guys on the practice squad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The thing is, if there's only 2 interior linemen, I mean, you might end up seeing both of them on there because they tend to stash quite a few linemen on the practice squad every year,
which is reasonable.
Yeah.
A smart thing to do.
Yeah. So they both have a good shot at making the squad. So that's it. That's the group. It seems like it's a pretty well-defined group actually already. Like I think we know we have a good sense of who's going to be in.
Well, yeah, I mean, my prediction is going to be in the terms of the positions that are at risk, because obviously, as you said, Tyler Biadasz is the center. Nick Allegretti is almost certainly a left guard. And so we're really talking about who's the right guard. And I'm going to say Brandon Coleman just because he's the draft pick, you know, and so I think he's going to have the upper hand. If it's all things being equal, Brandon Coleman's going to start. So I think Andrew Wiley is going to have his work cut out for him to beat him out to play. And so I think what we're going to see is, as a prediction, is Allegretti, Biadasz, Coleman as your starting group, with Wiley being the swing tackle.
Yeah. The only difference is I think they're going to put Coleman to the left side so they can groom him for the future and have Allegretti onto the right side, because Allegretti did have some time in Atlanta as a right guard too. So.
A totally reasonable opinion.
Yeah, it's actually, that is one of the more interesting things that we'll start watching, I think, this offseason is where he lines up, because I think logically that's the best spot for him, like you're saying. But initially they did say they wanted to play on the right side, but that was before they drafted another tackle.
I just keep coming back to what Robbie Duncan said on the show years ago, which is that it's harder to switch sides than it is to move from outside to inside. That's what Robbie, who played tackle at Liberty, was it Liberty?
No, ODU.
ODU, that's right.
Yeah,
that's what he told us.
Yeah,
when he was a part of the show.
He played all 5 or 4 of the 5, I think. He never played center, but he always said that it was much easier once you settle into right side, stay on the right side, guard or tackle. So there's a good argument for that. That would be what you do with Coleman. So, all right. So that breaks down the interior line. We've done exterior and interior line. It's
coming
an upgrade.
Coming up next week, we're going to continue, obviously, with our position group breakdown series. We're going to start 2 weeks in a row of defensive line. So I believe next week is interior defensive line, and then the following week will be edge rushers. So that's what's coming up.
And then I have my June 4th quarterbacks.
It's a mystery who's going to be the starter. Big prediction on that one.
Right. Like I told you, it's going to be 3 sentences long, the whole article.
You better do better than that. I'm not going to be happy if I have to.
I will do better than that. All right, guys, that should do it for this week, and we will talk to you next week when we talk about the interior defensive line. A lot of changes there too. Big changes on that part.
I hope you all liked my dog.
Yeah, I did.
He barked maybe once through this thing.
Right.
I didn't hear him at all.
Camera. I heard him, but I know what to listen for. Because before the show,
we were doing a lot of muting on this during the broadcast.
Yeah, you did good. All right, guys, we will talk to you all next week.
All right, later.